Welcome to our Economic Growth and Development Committee meeting. Can I first of all get a motion to approve the minutes of our prior committee meeting? Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Leggett. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is a request to approval for out-of-state travel. Wayne?
Yes, this is both for myself and for Ethan to attend the National Planning Conference. And it's in Philadelphia. This was put in as part of our budget package request last year. For me, I am looking just for cover some of the expenses. I will take care of my own travel and meals. And the department would cover typical costs for Ethan. So I'd ask the committee's consideration of that.
Great. So why don't we lump 1 and 2 in the proposal, please? Supervisor, motion by Supervisor Leggett, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
The 3 and 4 are just requests intent to fill positions for committee approval. They're in the budget. It's just we're going to start soliciting and trying to recruit some people, and that's part of the travel to the national conferences. They have a job mart there, and we would look to recruit there.
Thank you, Wayne. So if we can vote on 3 and 4, please. Motion by Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Stroud. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic.
Number 5 is if you looked at the treasurer's report, it showed that we had a negative balance in some of our revenue accounts. As part of the budget, we included this as a revenue, but we need to actually move funds or allocate funds as a revenue from the ARPA funds that were set aside for the department's administration of the program.
Great. Motion by Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Stroud. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, number 6, last year the county appropriated $200,000 went into a fund in our department for the county comprehensive plan. The board resolution came through in November. County signed it. The consultant did not sign it until January. Therefore, we couldn't do a purchase order last year. The funds reverted to unappropriated surplus. We'd like to recover those since there's already a contract signed for those, and we need to appropriate them again.
Fantastic. Can I get a motion to get that on the floor? Supervisor Leggett, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those are all the items I have for committee discussion.
Thank you.
Ethan had included something in there on the water infrastructure grant opportunities.
Yeah, just real quick. I think we kept that in the back of the package. There's a notification. What's the date on that one, Wayne?
March 14th.
March 14th up in Elizabethtown. Environmental Facilities Corporation is doing a workshop that's intended to connect rural communities with funding opportunities for water and wastewater infrastructure. This is a huge, issue in our rural communities, and the state has been more open to, reaching out to Adirondack communities to understand their needs and some of their financing gaps. So I think it'll be a worthwhile workshop to do. It's nice to have the EFC meet us on our own turf, even if it is in the next county over. And really, as long as we get this good infrastructure in our hamlets, that's really the secret to, community vitality in our up-county towns.
Thank you. Can keep up the good work, Ethan. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. The next item will be an update on our bus transportation merger between Glens Falls Transportation and as well as the Capital District Transportation Association. Welcome to Mayor Collins, Carmen. I'm not going to mispronounce your last name, and Scott Spacek from the city of Glens Falls. So maybe our good friends from Albany and Glens Falls can help us, maybe better understand the issue at hand.
Sure. We shared the concept with you last year.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of you may have changed committees, but I do appreciate that not only did everyone on the committee at the time, the Economic Development Committee, think it was a good idea, but also that the full board sent us a resolution saying that they too looked on favor. So what we promised is that we would take next steps and get some details and come back to you. And that's where we are. We think we're ready to move forward. Well, we know as a city that we are. To remind everybody that the Greater Glens Falls Transit System is operated as a department of the city of Glens Falls, but we operate as a small regional transportation authority that actually right now has 11 different communities that have signed agreements and contribute small amounts of money so that we can offer transportation services from Glens Falls, I think, as far north as Bolton, and then we also include some towns in Washington County as well, both the village of Hudson Falls and Fort Edward. So what we're here to talk about is we, the city of Glens Falls, have decided to stabilize our future and to make sure that our transportation services not only don't go away, but can grow and be sustainable for the next 30 to 50 years, is to merge with CDTA. There are several benefits. This is a win-win-win situation. Win for the city of Glens Falls. Our transportation authority is covered over 80% of its budget is covered by state and federal funding. And so those funds would then move to CDTA and they would help us operate that. To do that, the county would, right now, it's mandatory that any transportation authority, all the major ones, right? City of Glens Falls is this crazy anomaly that was dreamt up by Mayor Ed Bartholomew in 1970. And although we're extremely appreciative and excited, maintaining it is extremely difficult and tenuous. Most people wouldn't know that over the last several years, we have struggled with hiring employees and maintaining just the services that we do. And it's not a matter of finance. It's a matter of size. It's a matter of economy of scale. Everybody's experienced hiring problems. And we would not have, if it wasn't for the collaboration between the city of Glens Falls and CDTA, you would have seen many disruptions over the last couple of years. At sometimes they've loaned us as many as 5 drivers and a working supervisor just to maintain the services that we have. And so for us, it's definitely something that we need to do. There are other benefits other than just maintaining the stability of this system. The one that we think is the most interesting and the biggest win for Warren County is it ties Warren County to Albany, Schenectady, Troy, and now Montgomery County as they've joined just recently CDTA. And so we think that this helps stabilize it. You'll see in there in the document that I've handed out, I have extras if anybody doesn't have one. But those are the benefits to. I'm sorry. There we go, Ethan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So for us to continue this and the stability, we need the deeper resources that comes with a transportation authority the size of CDTA. To give you an example, the GGFT operates with 18 buses right now, and CDTA has 250. So it's not a matter of, right, 250. I'm using the right number, aren't I? Please, Carm. Thanks. So I think that we're also brings with that the technology and resources of it. We could not afford the current communication systems and the technology that CDTA has. If this doesn't happen, the city of Glens Falls will not really be able to move forward. Already we've seen from this collaboration, we've got our bike share program, but there are many, many more. But again, that bike share is a kind of thing where we all knew it was a great idea. We'd love to have bikes available in Lake George and Glens Falls and the surrounding areas and people to go back and forth through Queensbury and Glens Falls. But we could have never afforded that alone. We just don't have the resources to start those programs up. And the others are things like the STAR program, the Flex program, the electronic car sharing program. These are things that CDTA offers throughout its services. So we're not asking them to provide anything new. It would just be new to us and a benefit to us. And so I've asked for this to move forward, that no route changes for 3 years, that while CARM learns the system, while CDTA learns the system and understands what the strengths and needs are of the current system. I could just keep talking. The biggest thing I think county ought to be as excited about it as I am is the bringing Albany to Glens Falls, right? Right away, we would have a commuter system. Right now, CDTA ends in Moreau and Glens Falls, GFT ends in South Glens Falls. So we would have a commuter system that would at least connect the broader CDTA to Lake George, to Bolton Landing. We could not ask for it to be more than that to begin with. We have to look at ridership, and I should say CARM and CDTA would have to look at ridership to see what more growth that is. But certainly the commuters from Albany down the I-87 corridor is right here in the, this is something that is attractive to them as well. The big hurdle in this would be that for this to be done for all transit authorities is that the way that the transit authorities across the state collect their local share. Instead of with Glens Falls, we've got these 11 communities that sign municipal agreements. It's not very much money, but it's a municipal agreement, and that's where the local share comes from. The local share in all other transportation authorities comes from the county that signs in from 1/4% of the mortgage recording tax. It's how Albany does it. It's how Buffalo does it. It's how Schenectady. That's how this works across the state. So it's that would be the. I've got a draft that I've given to the chairman of what the resolution could look like. You're obviously it's your resolution. You can amend it, but I gave you a sample of what other transportation other counties have signed, and basically it says that Warren County wishes to join the CDTA, and that they're willing to fund 1/4% of the mortgage recording tax. How the county uses that, where they so let's say that's I think it's roughly $1 million. You as supervisors would decide if that comes from you increasing your mortgage recording tax 1/4%. It's what other counties have done, but you could also decide to take that amount of money from some other budget that you think is worthy of doing it. I think that the wisdom of other counties across the state is that it's not an ongoing tax that you're taxing your residents on a regular basis. It's when somebody buys a house, then they're paying 1/4% more on the recording tax of that house. They don't buy another house for 20 years. They don't pay any more of that money. And whoever buys the house the next year pays again that small fee. That fee does add up. Not nearly to the amount that it costs to run a transportation authority, but that is the way that the local shares are figured across the state.
Thank you, Mayor. I've thought about this issue quite a bit, and I think as a general observation, as a Warren County supervisor, how do we ensure an effective, modern public transportation system for the next 50 years? How do we guarantee that? It seems to me that this proposal, where we have a larger player in the industry merging forces with the Glens Falls Transportation Organization, will ensure that for the next 50 years, we have a modern, viable public transportation system. The economic need, particularly 4 or 5 months out of the year, when the employer, say in the Lake George area, they need employees, and it's getting harder and harder to get that effective employee. We need to be able to provide a mechanism that is stable, secure, and predictable to enable that employee to get to that employer to be employed. So the greater global issue, in my opinion, is that there truly is an economic need to go ahead with this proposal. Okay, the economics of this county, this helps the economics of this county. So that no more speeches from me. Does anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I think you're right. I think mass transit is really important. Something that New York State and the US is very weak at. Having lived in Japan and Europe, where there's it's everywhere. I do have an observation and a couple questions for you.
Sure.
One is, out of this basin, this really doesn't help Johnsburg. I mean, we don't have access to this. Really wouldn't help us. So I was wondering if, well, I guess it's three questions. If that 1/4% is in the service area or is for the entire county? The second question is, are all the present, we got to look after our people. So are all the present employees that you have now going to transfer over to them? You're not going to lose any, because sometimes there's rationalization resources. Okay.
Yep.
And the third question is, are the pay and benefits comparable?
So that's the good news. I said it was a win-win-win-win situation. So that's what with the work we've done before we came. We've met with every employee at City of Glens Falls. They've all got a job now, offer from CDTA, making about $3 an hour more. Those people that are really close to our retirement, which is CDTA has a great retirement program, but is it a state retirement program? No, it isn't. So what I've done is I've offered that opportunity for them to stay with us, find a way for them to stay with the City of Glens Falls until they reach retirement age. It's only 3 or 4 employees at tops. And so they all have an opportunity to stay with us. And several are choosing to actually retire where they are and then go to work for CDTA at $3 an hour more. So they're very excited. So everybody's got a job. The last one is it would definitely. So no, it doesn't necessarily benefit Johnsburg and it does for the whole county, because that's what it's required by the state, is the county to come in. And like Glens Falls didn't, because we are running that transportation authority. So go ahead.
Carmen, why don't we, do you want to say anything, Carmen?
Well, I'm going to hire him to be. I was just going to say. I don't need to say much. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me. The mayor covered most of it, but I'll just give you some perspective. I guess size and scope are really what you need to know. We're a 750 person organization, so 750 people work here for CDTA. I've worked there for a number of years, my whole adult life. I'm proud of that, more than 40 years. I've had just about every job in the place. And over time, we have expanded who we are, what we are, and how we do it. We were a 4-county service area: Albany County, Rensselaer County, Schenectady County, and Saratoga County for many years. Montgomery County has recently joined. Similar thought process. Their municipally run service, though, was discontinued several years ago, really for all the reasons that Mayor Collins brought up. It just didn't make sense any longer for the city of Amsterdam to be operating a regional service. And when it got to be budget time, over time, that system just eroded and was eliminated. So we came in with nothing and have reinstituted public transportation service in that county. Similar arrangement, similar number of buses, similar number of people. So when the mayor, actually, when my friend Scott Sopcich, who I've known for 30 years, contacted me and said, it might be time, it might be right. We have been working with Scott and with the mayor. And as he says, the number one thing that we were concerned about was the employees who've worked there for many years. So we wanted to make sure that they all had individually a path forward, whether that be with us, whether that be to retire, or frankly, if they chose to retire and not work anymore, we got it. We understood that. Kudos to the mayor's HR department, because the 3 or 4 people that he talked about who need to retire, want to retire, they've worked there, but want a path forward to work with us. Every one of them has a path forward. So we've been successful there. And you may or may not know, for the last couple of years have really been here. We've been operating half of the trolley service with our people coming up here, working for Scott. I think they wear our uniform though, right?
Yes.
They all wear our uniform, and they operate the trolley service. We have, over the last several months, We are getting all the trolleys ready for their service mechanically for the summer. And now we're going through each of the larger vehicles and deciding, our maintenance staff deciding what's the best path forward. Should that bus be serviced by us? Should it be serviced at Glens Falls? Or frankly, should it be at a dealership? There are dealerships, believe it or not, for buses, diesel fuel buses here. So we really have been working in the backgrounds for quite some time. We're very comfortable with it. We think that Scott and the community have built a good organization, a solid organization that we can now hopefully make a little bit better by bringing, as the mayor said, a planning staff, a finance staff, an IT staff to bear, and hopefully make your communities more connected to economic opportunity, because that's what this is all about. This is making sure that people can get to work. And if they're not going to work, that they need to go to a shopping center, or they need to go to a doctor's appointment. That's what we do. So will you see changes right off the get-go? Probably not. But if I have my way, save the root structure that the mayor wants to protect, and I don't blame him, we'll be instituting a lot of our technology. For example, our fare box system. I think right now the fare box system is basically it's a vault. It dumps, protects the money. Our fare box system is a data collection device. So not only does it collect the money, it tells us a ton of stuff about who's using vehicles, where they're going, how they're going, how many go here, how many go there. Helps us to make pretty sound decisions about where service needs to be enhanced, maybe cut back, turn to the left, turn to the right, actually turn to the right, turn to the left, and things of that nature. So that's just a general introduction to CDTA. We're happy to be here. We look forward to being part of your community.
Scott, did you want to say something? Get Scott, and then we'll get to Supervisor Strower.
I think the mayor and Carm have said it all. It's really this stability of public transit in Warren County. This is the point that we've come to the decision. How is that going to look? Everything that's been said is true and it's valid, and it is the way forward to go to the next level. When people come here in the summertime, they have a certain expectation. We've had to operate. I always call it appropriate technology, and appropriate means what do we have the staff to support? And because we're small, there's been limits to that. But people coming from downstate, they expect a technology that we just isn't appropriate for us, because we have an 18 bus system. It is appropriate for CTA. They can bring that to the table. They can make it more seamless when people move. It's just going to improve across the board in many ways that may be obvious, some that won't be as obvious, but they'll be just as important that you may not see behind the scenes.
Thank you, Scott. Supervisor Strow.
Oh, well, Mayor Collins and Supervisor McDivitt and Carmine DeVille, you expressed it very well as to the advantages and the efficiencies of joining CDTA in this process. And I am on the GGFT advisory committee. And thank you for drafting a resolution. I have some suggestions, but I always appreciate getting a starting point, because it's not Warren County necessarily joining the CDTA. If that happens, which I do agree should happen for all the reasons said, it's Warren County supports the GGTC to join, not just Warren County, because it's a regional. So I think we need to put that in our resolves, that Warren County supports the GGFT and joining the CDTA. The only concern I have is, and that I get from others, is are we as a region going to still have a voice somehow, some way in CDTA? Carmine, would you address that if it's okay with the chair?
No, please.
Okay. Yeah, as part of this, and this is going to be up to you as to how you do this. I report to a board of directors. The board of directors are appointed by the governor, confirmed by the Senate. Now, our enabling legislation does not, it allows for the expansion into new counties. It doesn't articulate how many board members, but I would assume, right, we'll work at the Capitol to get a board member from Warren County. And there's your voice at the table.
And I will, so I've already spoken to Kevin about this, that Kevin and I would look for somebody. I've asked to be that person and found out from Carm that I can't be because it can't be an elected official. So I need to find somebody that can represent both Warren County and the city of Glens Falls for the common council to approve it. So I just got to find the magic person in Warren County that I can assure that we'll have both Warren County and city of Glens Falls is, because that's, I mean, if there is a downside to this, it's that I'm gonna lose my power. That I'm right now, not that I have much anyway, and that Scott really, we all know that Scott's run this for years and years, long before I came on the scene, but he is a department head of mine. And so if there was some limited power, I mean, that's it, right? And I won't have that. Right. So, but the Warren County will move together a name that you can all live with and that I can live with, that will represent us moving forward. They'll have one vote like every other or however many votes based on the representation of Warren County as opposed to the representation of Albany and Saratoga. But it'll be CDTA moving forward, and we'll live with that. And they'll make those decisions based on not about whether a local municipality, but does it make sense from a transportation authority sense, right? They'll grow programs to Johnsburg when the ridership decides that, and not from you or me, right? And my grudge against Johnsburg for years ago, right? Or not. It will be based on the same thing of running a business and a transportation authority. That's what, and we'll all be able to rest at night knowing that, right? That there is good transportation. 30% is the trolley service, right? To Lake George. You couldn't operate without that. You wouldn't be operating without 30% of your ridership.
Good. Supervisor McGowan, then Wayne, then Leggett. Okay.
I remember the last meeting we had, and damn, you can sell ice cubes to Eskimo, but no, I think it's a great program. It really just not as long as our workforce or what it's done to help out with lives, because I know she's put a lot into this too. I just think it's a great program, and I'm a firm believer there is no I in team, and this is a great group. Glens Falls has had that for a long time, and I think this is a great move. My concern, and you kind of brought it up, is and I like your system of finding that. I mean, the difference between Bolton, a trip up to Bolton, and a trip to Warrensburg is just about even. So this could pull in from Warrensburg, and even with smaller buses, you find up to go up into Johnsburg, over to Oregon's a little bit of a push, but I think we get up there to Brant Lake. You never know. It's a big takeoff, and it's an unknown. And I think I really think this is a great partnership. And I'm sorry you'll be losing some control, but that's something else that you could focus on. And I'm sure we could find someone that could take that over that's not an elected official. What do you think, John?
Just a quick question. Right now, Scott comes to the AGFT meetings, give the transit update so that we can incorporate any tip improvements or anything into that. Are we still going to have that?
We're used to all that.
Yeah, okay.
We're used to all that stuff.
That
I've been doing tips for 40 years. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yes. Supervisor Leggett and Supervisor Stroud.
Scott might be allowed.
Just add one more thing, just to Wayne's comment. That's federally required. The MPO and the whole planning process. So that would still have to continue beyond this, along with a bunch of other things that go along with FTA. But that's most obvious example.
Along that lines, excuse me. For example, our board met yesterday, and they had to approve our Title VI submission. Which calls for equity in our service planning process. So there are, as I told our board, that's good government, but it's really good business, that all of our decisions ought to be made, thoughtfully and equitably. So that's how we think, that's how we manage, that's how we do business. So we'll bring all of that here. all of that is now part of a federal and state umbrella that we live under. We're a public authority created by New York State. So, I mean, love to tell you we can do just about anything, but we have to live within certain bounds. So we really can't get too crazy.
Supervisor Leggett, then Supervisor Stroud.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. About $280,000 came into the county on mortgage tax that we got. And I'm trying to remember if that's a 0.5% or a 1/4%.
It's a 1/4%.
It's a 1/4%.
What did you think?
So is that sufficient operating revenue?
I don't believe that. I believe you got, I don't know. I think you should look at that. My guess was when I looked at what I thought I saw is that the 1/4% of your county's mortgage recording tax was about $1 million. That's what we thought it was.
Yeah, it's close to $1 million.
Sorry, a 1/4% of our recording tax.
Mortgage recording tax was $1 million.
But can I comment that? The way it gets kind of fuzzy when you think about it, it's 1/4% of the mortgage recording. So it's not, it's of the total amount, and what's collected, like a portion goes to the state, a portion stays with Warren County. So it's the equivalent of 1/4% of the mortgage recording fee that goes in. That's the.
Yeah, I'll try again. It's 1/4% of the total collections.
Yes.
There you go.
Collections.
So of the collections, we get, so collections are based on a percentage of the value of the mortgages
The transaction.
transaction. So
Varies.
yeah,
Oh,
so
it varies wildly from year to year.
Oh, yeah.
it does. So if we're collecting 3.5% or so altogether on recording fees for mortgages, and it gets distributed to the state, county, towns, you're getting it off of the total value of mortgages or
Total
the
collection. Whatever the county collects, and I don't know this, right?
you don't have that figure? You don't?
I don't, I couldn't tell what I was looking at.
I'll give you so maybe some perspective. Last year was a good year. Until actually last month was the first month that we had not received over $1 million per month from our 5 member counties in total. Annually, last year, Saratoga County was about $6.5 million. Albany was close, about 4.5, 5 million. The smaller counties, Rensselaer and Schenectady, were just over $1 million. Montgomery County, much less than that. But again, it's based, I don't know these numbers, total collections. I could probably work with each county clerk to figure that out. It's not a rabbit hole that I'm qualified to go down.
Okay, so if I could do follow-up on that, is that 1/4% included on anybody that comes in and records? Or we see what it has been recorded, take 1/4% out of our treasury and where's the money actually coming from? Yeah, so, yeah.
You're asking the wrong guy because it's on your end.
Yeah, you'll decide that. Yeah.
But so all I know is the statute is 1/4% of your collections. Now, what
And
is it?
then you decide where you want it to pull from, right? You can decide whether you want to increase that 1/4% and have it come from the people recording it or the people selling the homes, or whether you want to pull that equivalent out from wherever else you would like to pull it.
I will have to look into that because that goes back to your question. So, okay.
Supervisor
Let's
Stroud.
back up though. I think be careful of details. I'm with you. We need to know,
They're hell, aren't they?
well, we need to know,
Plane crashes.
we all collectively need to be comfortable with that. But that's with, I would imagine, the good staff here within a day will be able to figure that out and report back. I'm here to tell you, though, there's not much more for us to do. We've done everything, all the due diligence. The next thing that we need to do is we need to start working with the federal government to assume all of the assets that were bought with federal funds. That might take us a bit, but we'd like to get going, but we can't get going on that until we have some sort of resolution. I understand that today, but from the full board that indicates a desire to join the authority.
Supervisor Stroud.
Yeah, well, this board has been generically supportive of a mortgage tax. It does come before us. A different board could vote mortgage tax down because it is something that the board votes on every year, and there are particular, well, there's an individual that votes no, but that could change. So there's some risk in assigning it to a mortgage tax. The other thing, you know, and you're talking about an extra 0.25%. Perhaps we could divide the mortgage tax into that might be optional. And should you get a board that decides to vote against the mortgage tax, that there'll be some protection for this 0.25%, that would be separate from the other tax, because they need some risk management, some assurance that there is going to be a revenue stream coming from this area to them to help them finance their operations. We need to have, I think, something more permanent in the resolution as we go forward to assure some mandatory nature to our obligation to the revenue stream for CDTA. So how we go about doing that? Well, I'll let the administration and others figure that out, but I think we need to do that going forward.
Good. Great discussion and learned a lot. I think the consensus, and let me make a personal observation. I think generally speaking, I think the supervisors in the room support the concept of this proposal here. And do you think we would like to consider a resolution in general support of the concept, the idea, and the details? We'll let our legal staff deal with figuring out the more difficult issues involved here. So
We got
Yeah.
a question.
I support, and thanks again, Mayor Collins. But in the two resolves at the bottom, it should be made clear that Warren County Board of Supervisors supports taking the necessary steps for it being the Greater Glens Falls Transit. Again, it's a regional thing, but we're supporting that regional thing to formally join the Capital District Transportation Authority and be it further. And again, in the last resolved in the last sentence, and all necessary steps to enable scratch Warren County, put in Greater Glens Falls Transit. Warren County supports GGFT, Greater Glens Falls Transit, joining the CDT.
No, because CDT, Greater Glens Falls Transit will no longer exist. Does the Warren County Board of Supervisors wish to join the CDTA? It's got to be there because that's what you're doing. So we're working on merging all of our assets to CDTA. If you do join that, that's exactly what we'll do. We'll make sure they have the buses, they have the transportation, they will move forward. You will have an agreement to be part of CDTA for the entire county. Yes.
All right, then, but doesn't the CDTA is actually absorbing the Greater Glens Falls Transit?
It would if you make this motion and the full board passes it, yes.
So the Warren County supports.
I'm with you. I just
That
want to,
organization-
you just want to make sure you don't change that piece. It's, you're deciding to join the CDTA as a county.
All right, but we're also in support of.
Yes, you are, the merging of us, and
Merging.
I appreciate it. I just
Alright.
want to be careful that,
Okay.
that one language, that's what you're really deciding.
We'll let the administration and legal work.
All right, very good. Very good.
Okay, so do we, go ahead.
I just I got a question, in this resolution. It's gonna be something nobody's gonna like. This whole, 0.25% thing where it's come, that's kind of ethereal right now. We don't really have a good handle on that. I think it's important we do have that handle so that everybody here has comfort. Should in this resolution, we put a time frame on when we can make that decision. But otherwise, this might just get kicked down the road and down the road and down the road. Do you think that's something prudent, or are we just gonna hunker down and do it and not worry about it? Like say 6 months, 2 months, or 2 weeks?
Well, how long does this committee meet, or how often does this committee? meet?
Once a month.
So I am asking you to move a resolution to the full board as soon as you can. Now, as soon as you're comfortable with it. You don't have that number. I think again, your staff can and Kevin, if you'd help us, we get the number to you so that you can all come comfortable with it. I'm not asking you to pass a number that you don't know, but I want you to know that we are moving forward. And we want Warren County to commit to this now, because Scott's getting ready to retire and the city of Glens Falls is moving in this direction. I want it to be with Warren County. I clearly do, because I don't know where I'm going to come up with $1 million, but I'm going to, because we need to. So this will not continue. I don't really want to talk about this, and I want you to all hear me. I'm not being threatening at all. We are moving forward. And if the city of Glens Falls needs to find a way to change the state legislator to get them to approve the city of Glens Falls merging with CDTA, and then you all figure out what you're going to do about transits outside of the city, then that's what I'm going to do, because we need to do this. That $1 million is a steal. If you can't imagine that this is the best $1 million you'll ever spend, I don't think you understand what you're doing, because the village of Lake George right now pays about a whopping $10,000 a year for it, right? The Queensbury pays the most at $70,000. City of Glens Falls pays $60,000. The rest of this is all federal funding, right? And so this is going to happen. And I just want you, and please know that I'm not trying to be threatening. Just want you all know where we're going with this, right? No, I want you to absolutely know it. It's not. This is the best thing for Warren County, to tie Albany to Lake George to Warren County. This is moving forward. So please find out that number and maybe have a special meeting. I need to move this. My leader of how many years? 25 years is getting ready to retire in April. And I'm working to make sure that we don't suffer in June. Right? That there is transportation for the J1 workers throughout Warren County in June. And thank you. Please.
As a point of compromise, could we consider just moving a simple resolution of support to the full board and for our 17th meeting and work on
Make the motion that this committee supports the resolution, considering it may be amended in accord with the intention of the resolution, but better in accord with expressing the Greater Glens Falls Transfer versus Warren County parts. And have that put forward to the March Board of Supervisors meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second on that? We have a second. Any discussion?
If there's money involved, it should come before finance committee as well. So something would.
Great. So that,
Good thought.
that's good.
Good thought.
Yeah, once we sort it out.
Yeah.
Once we sort it out, then we'll take it through our process that we have to do to get into the full board.
So we've had a
Discussion.
Go.
I just have, are we working all, if anything, with Washington County? Because I know you say you have some trips over there. I mean.
So Carm's gonna work directly with Washington County so that they're not in the land of forgotten. And to do that, he's got to break the mold, which is to try to find a way to do a separate agreement with them, which is not done anywhere else by anybody else.
Well, let me
And
give you,
maybe there's a possibility that we could join up in a conversation with Washington County, if that's possible.
Right now, we'll worry about.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm just, you know,
Good time.
I know, and I understand it because I really, this is,
We are taking, just so you know, we're taking care of it.
okay.
Thank you.
let's back
So we
up.
have
I agree here, Warren County, but I don't
we have
want
a motion.
the six, hang on a second, the 6 or 7 operating agreements that you have will all go away except for any operating agreement outside of Warren County that goes into Washington County. But there's not a number tied to that. No one has to pay us whatever these
Right,
things
yeah.
are worth. There's no
So-
$60,000 assessment any longer. That's part of the whole overall CDT umbrella. So that's another benefit here. That comes.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
Can I have a clarification
Yes.
point? Is your motion to adopt the sample resolution that was provided? Or is it to join the CDTA with the annual financial contribution of 0.25%?
My motion is that Warren County supports the emerging of the Greater Glens Falls Transit with the CDTA. And I think that the financial provisions also need to be worked out, and I expressed my concerns. And I think this, you want that incorporated into the resolution, that a financing formula acceptable to the Board of Supervisors and something with some permanency is going to be part of this resolution. You want that there beyond that? Huh?
What your attorney proposed is
Yeah.
100% what we need.
It seems like the what was just proposed was more of a proclamation of support instead of a joining.
That's correct.
So they are requesting that we entertain a motion to join the CDTA with a annual financial contribution of 0.25%. So the question that we have now is, do we want to bring that to the full board? Because that's what they're indicating that they
And
need.
you've already, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you've already given us that. When we were here last time, you already said that you wanted to pass a resolution to support this, and we appreciate it. And then I believe that the whole board passed a similar one. So we appreciate your support. We're asking you, and whether you do this now or whether it goes to your finance committee and the resolution actually comes from them because you want the solid numbers before you make it, just so you're all aware, it's the resolution. We need a resolution passed by I don't know who it comes from because I don't know your procedures. But we need a resolution saying the Warren County wishes to join the CDTA and agrees to pay 0.25% of the mortgage. I can't even give you but that's the resolution that gets this done. And anything else doesn't.
So if you want to add that, we also support, although I think the details need to be worked out, we support a 0.25% addition to the mortgage tax in support of the revenue that will be contributing to the CDTA.
So there may be an additional procedure to increase the
There's
0.25%.
double in the details.
Supervisor Gary.
Just remember that anytime we increase any of these taxes, we have to go to the state legislature and get permission. So we're kind of maybe in a little bit of a hurry up mode to get it done and get it to Albany if that's the route we want to take. So I just caution you there because we have in order to, we can't raise taxes on our own. We have to get permission from the state, and that's one of the things.
So
To make sure.
I'm not
If that's the route we.
I may have a solution for that. Just, that's the number you want, right?
It is.
You don't know, that's how you're gonna calculate, that's the number you want. So can we say equivalent to that? That would give us some flexibility of where it actually comes from at the end of the day. It doesn't actually have to come from there. But we say equivalent to that, we're using that number to calculate the total number, and where we get that from is something finance can figure out later. Does that make any sense?
I mean, that's more of a policy based approach, but in order to increase the tax revenue for mortgage tax, you would have to most likely do a municipal home rule law request with the state, and those typically are decided closer to the end of the year. So you would be essentially joining with our current 0.25%, having to figure out where the money's coming from. And then if you do choose to make that request to increase it by 0.25%, you're most likely going to be looking at next year seeing the money come in for the increase.
Yeah, I don't think we would have time to get it through, but we have to see.
So most likely you would be agreeing to join with your current rates until next year, pending approval by the state.
Unless we forget from what we earned.
Correct.
Guys, listen, we're not here. I don't want this to be led with money. What we're looking for is an act of your Board of Supervisors to join the authority. Everything else that you've talked about, we understand, we get it. We do this in 5 other counties. I understand this. And if there's nothing the first year, and we have an agreement that there's nothing the first year, you know, our attorney will work with your staff. And then it comes in the second year, so be it.
Yeah, we've already budgeted, the city's already budgeted, and so we've already signed municipal agreements for this year with everyone anyway. So that's okay, right? If again, yeah, I thank you. It's about the motion to join and to come up with that money, and whether you don't get that this year, that's not a concern. At least that allows us also, if you do make that resolution and your full board passes it, allows us to move forward with our plans.
Mr. Chairman. I think the easiest thing is for us just to adopt the resolution with the 2 resolves as written, but change out on therefore be it resolved. Take the necessary steps for Warren County to formally join instead of it just clarifies. And then send the letter. Anything on finances is going to complicate it too much, because we don't know if that 0.25% comes off of the people recording, or if it's an equivalent that we pull out of our pocket.
Right.
So I would recommend for CDC, and if this gets you enough information, enough backing
Definitely does.
forward, let's go with just the therefore be it resolved and the resolve.
If that's fine, because what I heard after we made the resolution and Supervisor McGowan seconded it. They wanted some commitment to have a financial revenue stream, and that we're committed to that. And they suggested 0.25% of the mortgage tax. And
We'll take this resolution as it stands with your amendments, and then we'll work on that. You all know what we're asking for. It'll allow us all to move forward. Then you can work on the details of how you come. We're fine with that.
all right, then I'll go back to my
Thank
as suggested. The mayor has drafted a resolution that may need tweaking to convey that Warren County is on board with joining with the CDTA, and we're also on board in having the merger between the CDTA and the Greater Glens Falls Transit. Done.
Second.
Okay, do we have to back up the previous motion made by Supervisor Stroud and second?
Can I make one addition as well, to allow the chairman or the chair of the board to enter into any contracts or agreements that may need to be executed to move forward with this as well.
Do we need to make that now, or would we make that at the Board of Supervisors level?
I would ask that you
All right.
you could make it a separate resolution, or you could include it in this one.
I can include it in this as amended, as suggested by council.
And I second the amended
Great.
motion.
Wonderful. So are we?
For the amended
We
amended.
better vote on this.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're gonna go into overtime here.
Kevin, you all right with this?
Okay, so we basically have, finally, and I thank you for the input.
Okay,
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And opposed? No opposed? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Just as one last time, any public comment, privilege of the floor? Seeing none.
Maybe we'll get to more.
Jim, yes. Oh,
Where's my money? Just wanted to be fair. Yeah, it's there. Here. But just a couple of quick comments. First of all, this is a really timely conversation. I just came from the legislative forum. You know, Elise was on stage along with all of our other local legislators. And literally the conversation was about things that you are already working on. Amongst them, the expansion of public transportation as a fundamental need to be able to meet our workplace needs. So it's important to understand this conversation going on in two places. I did want to share with you that we had a recent economic forum. I saw our county administrator there and others. We were focused on issues of workforce there. The participation was big, it was different than we typically had. Beyond business leaders, we had students there, we had educators there, we had parents there, and we had interested parties who aren't even residents of Warren County who were curious about what it is that we're doing here. We had speakers from the state talk about the trends that are occurring in the change of workforce, along with Liza, who did a fantastic presentation on our more than 1,000 open jobs, which she broke down in great detail, exactly where they are, exactly what businesses and industries they are, and what those needs are beyond workforce development alone. Included amongst those was the need for greater public transportation access and childcare, which I know this forum has also been taking on. The important part to understand is these things are all coming together. We welcome your participation in these forums, and there will be more. One of our focus for the year is to engage the public in a much more deliberate way so that they can share the same information that you're seeing about the aging of our county population, the need for us to be able to say yes to new residents with things like expansion in housing and the kind of infrastructure you're talking about. But what was interesting to me today was listening to Representative Stefanik and the others talk about how Warren County is becoming a template for how the entire area should start to address these things. That we must compete for our ability to have workers. And the investments that you're talking about are exactly the same ones that were going on that stage. I'm happy to provide any more questions. I know you guys want to go. Or you can reach out to me with any specific questions you have, and then we'll work with Peter to get on the phone. I have a question for Jim. That's all right. Anybody address how the governor's sticking it to the county?
Yes. It was one of the major topics, and it was interesting. It was uniform amongst both the Republicans and the Democrats on the dais that they were lobbying together to address that.
And I don't understand.
There was a lot of discussion, and I think outrage is too strong a word, but common sentiment about it.
That's what we need.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim. Liza, sorry for the delay, okay?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure my resolutions get addressed before you move on to your next meeting. So thank you. I have just 2 resolution requests, and then I'm happy to share just a few general employment workforce updates since we are behind schedule a little bit. The first resolution request is to amend my budget to accept the Warren County's investment in workforce development. I'd like to thank the budget officer and the school board for their support of this, as I've been advocating for years for county investment into workforce development. And on your agenda, you have a breakdown of the object codes for where my budget, my fiscal manager and I feel like that 100,000 will do the best need.
Good. Supervisor Leggett, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion?
So this was budgeted in 100,000. Now this is just the paperwork here
Yes.
to get to amend the budget, to bring it into yours. And you have all of the 800s, 400s and 200s, but no 100s here. Is there no salary going with this 100,000?
Correct. So you may recall from previous presentations, I did talk about how the majority of our workforce and WIOA budget, Workforce Investment Opportunity Act money does cover salary and fringe, which means that money can't be used for other things. So we wanted to make sure that this $100,000 investment from the county is available for training for our residents and our county employees, where we have not been able to use the money designated for salary and fringe for WIOA, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. And there was a retirement that was.
Yep.
Is that, and the retirement on legacy, not
Correct.
just your current, is that?
So we did include some of that. You have that in front of you. We allocated or budgeted 12,000 of this 100,000 is going to the retirement costs. We do pay for former employees' retirement, even if they didn't work under this grant, but they worked in this department or former department. So we have taken that into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a resolution to amend the budget. Did we have a first and a second on this yet?
Yes.
We did. So we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Second resolution is to fill the summer job coach position.
Thank you. So this position was funded by ARPA last summer, and the ARPA committee agreed that every year I should come forward and ask to refill that temporary position. Many of you met our temporary job coach last summer. She helped several of our youth with disabilities be successful in their jobs, and we would not have been able to have them in our program without her. So I'm looking for a resolution to fill that position again for this coming summer. We only used $3,000 of the $30,000 allocated last summer. We hope to have that person start sooner and spend a little bit more of that money this summer.
Thank you. That's a motion by Supervisor Strauss, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion?
You have annual salary, but you expect, and for your budget, how much do you expect to expend if you have them full?
So the ARPA committee allocated $30,000 for this through 2026. And we anticipate spending between $5,000 and $10,000 a year. Last summer, we only had her for about 2 months. So
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you, Liza.
thank you. And I'm happy to share just a few general workforce updates, Mr. Chairman, if you're okay with that.
Please, yeah.
So we still stand at 3% unemployment rate in Warren County, which is wonderful. Most people who want a job can find one. You just walk outside and there's a job for you. We are aggressively and enthusiastically planning for our high school summer job fairs right now. We have 3 over the next 6 weeks with Queensbury, Glens Falls, and Lake George. This is the 3rd one we've done with Lake George. I do have our new career development specialist in the room, Mike Graney, who his position is funded by ARPA, and this is part of his orientation is learning about government process.
Oh, good one today.
Yeah.
So he's been with us almost a month, and meeting with the school districts. He will be supporting career exploration programs at all of the Warren County school districts, and has already hit the ground running. We're super excited about these high school job fairs and more school districts participating. For the school districts north, Bolton, Warrensburg, and also Luzerne, they've been invited to the Lake George High School Job Fair, and many of them are coming. So we are adamant about getting more young people into the workforce this summer. We know they helped our tourism industry greatly during COVID in the last few years. Supporting Lehigh Cement with their internal job fair on Tuesday. This is a private event that is just for their 80 employees who are looking for new jobs as the plant is closing in April. So we will be there. We will also have all of the Warren County jobs that are open there to promote those. And those are my main updates that I wanted you to know about what we're working on this spring, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All I can say is, Lice, thank you. The Lehigh is a big concern, and I have been following that, so I want to thank you, but really all you do. And 3%, that's got to be because of your department, so that's a good number.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Do appreciate it. Is this what we're on to next?
Yeah, you have to adjourn this meeting and then you'll join.
Good. Just, can we get a motion to adjourn? McGowan,